It is that time of the year again when unfortunately we have to talk about the problem with the PlayStation Store and the VR2 section of the store in particular, although this affliction does run rampant in the entire store itself and also on other storefronts like Steam and the Meta Horizon store or whatever they call it nowadays. And that is VR Shovelware AI slop, and that's a couple of words mixed in there, but they all accurately describe the games that are intended to be put on the store to trick people. And over the last couple of months, it hasn't been too bad. We've had one or two, but over the last week or so, or 2 weeks, there have been a lot popping up. And today we're going to be going through some of them, how other creators have found them, also the telltale signs of spotting them, and the companies that make them that you can be on the lookout to avoid, plus what Sony can actually do about it. So let's get into this after you sub to the channel if you do feel so inclined, as only 25% you are. And we thank our patrons and members who are all on screen right now. With that being said, let's tackle this awful problem, shall we? Now, this all started for me personally about under a year ago, I would say, whenever Grand Rush came out. This game was a highway racing simulator on PSVR2, and I use racing and simulator in massive air quotes there because it wasn't really either of these. It was a game where you get put into a very low poly car on a low poly road with traffic turned off by default for whatever reason, so you have to go and turn it on in the settings, and you drive down an endless road with a shifter that doesn't feel right at all, horrendous motion controls, and overall a complete lack of effort from the devs. There is some customization and upgrading, but it's not as advertised on the store page, meaning that literal mechanics that are advertised in the trailer are not in the game, such as spray painting a car, and ever since then, I've just avoided these awful looking AI slop games that are clearly made with zero effort and then spat out onto the store for people to mistake for other titles, or to be just straight up tricked by in terms of their quality. They'll buy them, they've given their money to the devs and to Sony, and then that's game over. You bought a game that is complete and utter dog shit, for lack of another word, and that's your money gone. And we know that Sony's refund policy is not the best. I've managed to get 2 refunds in my entire time on the PlayStation platform, and one of those was for a game that just simply wouldn't start, which was Project Wingman back when that launched. But aside from the 2 that I have, it's been an absolute disaster getting refunds, and the majority of people in the space just don't manage to get them at all, especially for these games. So what are the more recent ones? Well, if you look at the store, we've got plenty of real games such as Luminous Arise, Omega Pilot, Grit and Valor, which I'm very excited for, but we also have a couple here that are very clearly scam games. Now, the ones here at the moment are SCP-087, the Stairwell Horror, Abyss Backrooms Pool Horror VR, Skydiving Parachute Flight Simulator VR, Highway Legends Traffic Speed Racer VR, Truck Simulator 25 Euro Driver VR, and the most egregious Brain Rot Tung Tung Sahur VR, which if you know your shorts or reels or TikTok brain rot, which to be honest I've just been exposed to every now and then because luckily I don't really use those platforms, then you'll know exactly what this is. It's to market towards younger kids who've seen these things on short form platforms and get them to spend most likely their parents' hard-earned money on a game that doesn't really work properly or has had no effort put into it. All of these though are coming soon, and for the most part when these popped up on the store, they'd be the games that are listed to come out at the end of the month but never actually come out. They get delayed and delayed and delayed, and they seem to just be sitting there taking up space on the store, which I personally would rather they're not there, but didn't have a massive problem with in terms of having to talk about on the channel because they would never come out. People would never actually spend their money on them because they couldn't, which is the better of the 2 outcomes. However, over the last week we've had the release of Truck Simulator 25 VR American Driver, which, if you paid attention to the list I just checked off, has a sequel or a different version of it coming out in the announced section, which is Euro Driver VR. So this one actually released. This game, and again game in quotations, is by Testa Gamer Creations Ltd. And it's £16 here in the UK, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, here is about 10 seconds of gameplay from this game because I personally didn't buy it because the red flags were massive here. But this is from Brian from Without Parole, his review. I'm only going to use about 10 seconds of his footage because if you want to go see more, I'll link his review in the description below. But you can see how awful this looks. No effort put into it. It's very similar to Grand Rush. And if you knew the game was this bad, then you simply wouldn't buy it. But from the store page, it looks nothing like this. Now, to somebody's trained eye who knows how to look out for AI generated stuff, you can see a couple of red flags here, such as the dash being incomprehensible nonsense, and the hand on the steering wheel having several more fingers than a human usually does. But to somebody who isn't looking out for this, or maybe just glances at it on the store and wants a new VR driving game, they'll completely miss this. And they'll spend £16, and clearly people have, because it has 29 ratings on the store at 1.31 stars. That's the worst part of all of this, is that these games are finally coming out, and they're all horrendous. They have no effort put into them, and they're not worth your money, but people are buying them. The Euro Driver spin-off of this game is by a different company though, called Goose Game Ltd, and to be honest, if I had to guess, this is probably exactly the same devs, just set up under a different name, for whatever reason, probably something to do with money laundering. For legal reasons, that's a joke. But you can see my point. It's clearly the same sort of AI-generated artwork, it's the same name for the title, and it's all the same red flags once again. Same with that brain rot simulator. This is by CGI Lab SRL, which is another company to avoid. And they've also listed the Backrooms Pool Horror VR game, which is a clear rip-off of Pools VR, which is actually coming to PSVR2, and the SCP-087 VR, which is clearly yet another scam. Skydiving Parachute Flight VR, or whatever the hell it's called, is also by them, and that's been listed just today, I believe. And on top of that, Highway Legends Traffic Speed Racer VR is also by them, and that was listed today as well. So we have, what, 4 or 5 games listed by the same company, who are clearly just there to spam the store and hopefully trick some people into buying them. How in the hell this gets past Sony, I have absolutely no idea, but they need to crack down on this. It is utterly ridiculous that these games are getting places on the store and sometimes releasing for £16 when games that I know have a lot of effort put into them in the past can get stuck in QA for almost a year. It's just ridiculous that quality games can be delayed on this system where absolute VR slop that does not work like this gets through with ease. It is simply baffling to me that half of the games that are upcoming on the PS Store are of this nature, and people actually buy them when they come out and basically get robbed in broad daylight. What Sony need to do is they need to blacklist these companies, blacklist the addresses that they're registered from, and not allow them to list anything on the store. But knowing Sony and the storefront as a whole, this probably won't happen. This isn't just a VR issue, there are loads of games like this, flat screen as well, that are just pumped out by these shite companies that just fill the store and are marketed to either people who don't know any better or kids, and it is ridiculous and it needs to stop. Anyway, there's my little rant for today. Just do not go for any games that you see from these companies like Goose Games, like CGI Lab. They're just not worth it, and they don't deserve your money, definitely not. Sony need to do something about this. Whether it'll happen, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Avoid these games.